It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all to another spicy, sizzling edition of the Andy and Rem Show, episode 183. And what better way to mark that milestone, 183 episodes, than inviting one of the YouTube Wargaming pioneers onto the show. And of course, I'm not talking about Remington Steele, he's always here. Talking, of course, about the Joeyberry, who is not just here in still image form in a thumbnail, because as I remove that, you'll see that she is in fact here in the virtual flesh. Hello.
Or am I frozen?
You don't appear to be frozen.
Your eyes just moved.
I know. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
That's so awesome that you've come on our show, Joey. I think you've fulfilled every, wargamer's sort of dream, because you were like the icon of the internet in Warhammer for many years.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, but you in our eyes, you're still, right up there with, Marilyn Monroe's and of Warhammer.
Correct. Thanks. Not Bargain Bucket Katy Perry. The Marilyn Monroe. Warhammer. Perfect.
How about that? That's a good talk up to get you on the show, isn't it?
When some of us were making the quest back into Wargaming via YouTube, there were pillars in the community, and of course you were one of those. And a few weeks ago we had Sean of Blue Table Painting on as well, who was another of those pillars that were keeping the community afloat during those early years. So the rest of us could jump on board and then just sail it all the way to the promised land, which clearly we have done. I mean, look at these viewing figures.
Amazing.
I mean, Joey, you helped bring Warhammer to a lot of new people, and then you like leveled up, like many levels above, and took it to millions via, Total War. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean, have you ever heard that phrase, like it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at anything? Well, did you know I've clocked up about 5,000 hours on Total War Warhammer? I'm such a geek. I feel quite guilty, but is that partly down to you? Maybe.
I'm taking that credit. Yes. Yeah, you're welcome.
Just the 5,000 hours.
Are you any good? Like that is the big question of Total War.
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, I don't know. I see, all the channels for Total War Warhammer. They go into all the AP stats and everything about individual units, and I'm not too bothered about all that stuff. But I seem to win.
Didn't we just have the one multiplayer game and my dwarves annihilated you?
No, I think you'll find, Andy, that I defeated you utterly, and you never wanted to play.
That's not how I remember it. I brought this terrible dwarf gun line, just iron drakes on a hill, and you just marched into them and were just flamed to bits. And I don't think we've played a rematch since then.
Say it the right way.
Iron drakes.
Thank you.
It's funny because that's exactly what you try and do on the actual physical war table, isn't it? It's just basically a gun line, So, Joey, I remember you were into the Sylvaneth. Well, actually, Wood Elves, weren't you? That was your thing.
Yeah, Wood Elves. Wood Elves and Lizard Men. Like, don't forget about my Game of Thrones themed Tywin Lannister led Lizard Man army.
That's right. And then suddenly you started getting to a bunch of different armies. I thought, hold on, how are you going to get all this stuff finished and painted and whatnot? I think you had what were the Mondays? It was something Mondays. It was Malifaux Mondays. That's what it was. Yeah. So like every night of the week you had a different thing. Hey.
Yeah, I did a District 9 themed Malifaux In the end, everything became themed because I watched so many excellent TV series that I merged them.
And, yeah, so, I mean, you got the bug, I guess it's fair to say, didn't you? And,
Yeah.
did you find yourself with, cupboards full of grey plastic or metal?
Yeah, they're now at
Yeah.
work. A lot of them live at my desk. So, in true Wood Elf form, my old general, Morgan Treeman, lives in my plant pot, and the
To be
cleaners don't
fair,
understand it.
a lot of that stuff's worth a fair packet now, all those
Yeah.
metal miniatures, right?
Decorating your plants with miniatures is like the anti-Remington because he actually decorates his miniature bases with real living plants sometimes.
That's correct. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, yes, but where I'm pointing, that's my wood elf army. I really ought to put some pictures up.
Yes, please.
You'll have to come back on the show, and I'll reveal to you my completed wood elf army.
Thank you. And
The
I
only
will take pictures of my army in the office and where I've decorated the office with
Awesome.
my miniatures.
Well, I did decorate them with a sort of a summer theme with my mum's potpourri that I
Nice.
found, but mixed with living mould. And it
Ooh.
looked amazing for a month or two, and then the wood elves suddenly turned into an autumny theme, as the moss sort of died. Still kinda looks cool.
They smelled quite good for a while though, didn't they?
How about
Yeah, they
now, though?
still look awesome. The only thing I'm missing, I don't have a Sisters of Twilight because, as I bet you'll notice what happens is every new DLC you release, suddenly there's a resurgence in interest in the models, right? So I was like, "I've got to get Sisters of Twilight" because when we're playing the Wood Elf campaign, they were brilliant. So, but why didn't I ever get this before?
I
And so yeah,
I love
cool.
them. I
Yeah,
I always had, I love the 2 of them, the Law as well. So when I went blonde last year, because as you do, classic lockdown, you're bored. I did every hair color, but I particularly like the blonde and the side by side where I was
amazing,
Nostra and Arahau.
amazing.
By the
Right,
way,
how?
in the
Yeah,
chat at the moment, it's obviously a packed house, but the comments have been flooding in. And first of all, Colin correctly guessed that Remington's blinds would be up this week. So well
yeah.
done to Colin
I'm
there.
too excited to think about those
Successful
tonight.
guess. Then Dismember the Alamo, who I don't think I've seen before, says Joey is the reason I got back into painting minis. So that's either a blessing or a deep financial curse.
Sorry?
Probably
Oh,
somewhere in
well.
between those two things. And then Annie has commented, said, I wish Rem talked about me in such beautiful tones. Yeah, I don't think you give Annie that kind of intro, do you, Rem? She's not happy about that.
Oh, blessed Annie. She deserves it.
You got a response to that, Mr. Remington?
Um, I got Annie a Christmas present, didn't I? Did I get some chocolates? I
Anything
got her
nice
some
to say about
chocolates.
Annie or her mum, who's
Yeah,
also watching?
Annie, Annie, and your mum, you are the best. They are the best.
Annie's mum also, like, be loaned out to be my mum on occasion.
The best. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
I don't know if she has an agent, but I'm sure we could put you in touch.
Annie,
Get the
let me
ball
know.
rolling.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. I'm just very excited. I'm so happy you're on here,
I said I
Joey.
would. I said
It's
when I
so
saw you guys talking about the cafe trailer, I had to.
It's amazing. Do you know what? I feel bad because, I think the show before it, maybe you didn't see it, so I shouldn't even mention it, but I
You're
was,
too
like,
far
moaning.
now.
Yeah, I've gone to I was moaning because I thought, "Oh, why don't they do, like, a separate ogres faction? It would be really cool." And instead of, just the mercenaries, and all along, you must have known that they were coming, and you hid it so well. But I shot my mouth off saying, "Ah, why don't you do that?" And you probably saw. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you guys knew. It must be kind of a strange feeling hearing, knowing, but not being able
It
to
is.
say.
It is. And this week, we the trailer dropped for the Ogre Kingdoms.
Amazing, by the way.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the team. That kind of stuff, it will be one of the few things I talk about a more official capacity. But that watching that occur when you drop something and then you see the reception, especially as a fan of the franchise for years, it's lovely to watch it, you know, and to read the comments and be like, "Oh, they captured it!" Like that stuff's great, and you know,
It's so awesome, and I don't know, maybe is it international? Because, I mean, we're in a little bit of a bubble, I guess, in the UK. Is it global? Is it a global phenomena?
Warhammer or Total War Warhammer.
Total War Warhammer.
I mean, Total War's an old franchise now. It's, you know, what, 30 years?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe Steo's a bit older, but you know,
Yeah,
it's been kicking around for a while. Um, but since with the Warhammer franchise itself, it always lended itself to work together. So, you know, taking those two things, mixing it and iterating upon it, Warhammer 2 is awesome. You know, I love that. I'm in
y
that.
I
I'm a high elf.
what do you mean you're in it?
I'm in it. I'm the handmaiden to the Everqueen, sir. Sorry, I personally am not in it. Joe's a Farrellist Otarian, though.
What, as the voice of, or as it is modeled after you?
Not modelled. I mean, technically, if I had blonde hair again, because high elves, but it was one of those. Sometimes the developers have done it with lots of games. Rome 2 especially, loads of my colleagues are in that. But I had the honour and the privilege of having a character loosely, in law terms, named after me. That is, would take that with me forever.
That's
Now,
amazing.
we know, of
Just let me
course,
let's just go on.
we know,
Sorry,
of
Andy.
course, that in your
Okay, I'll
capacity
talk then.
at, I'll talk first, Remington. This is my channel.
Mute him. No, I'm kidding.
So, we know that in your official capacity, there's not too much you can say. However, I'm sure Remington is brewing up many ways in his mind to try and catch you out, reveal top secret info that would see you sacked instantly. I wouldn't stoop to those levels, though, although there are rumours that a body language expert is watching this show. So occasionally, words might slip out like, I don't know, Chaos Dwarf. And then body language expert will have been analysing your face carefully there, and they'll be feeding back to me afterwards.
How
Let
do
me
they
know
know I've
exactly
not
what's
muted
going on.
myself and I've passed gas? Like, how do they know?
Coming. It's coming. I know it's coming. They're coming. They're coming, aren't they, Joey?
That's what we're hoping for.
Coming.
That's our number one hope. Actually, that and halflings, but I don't hold out as much
Halflings.
hope for halflings
Halflings.
personally.
If we say it enough times, it'll happen. Halflings. Halflings.
Kind of will them into existence.
Hobbitses.
It's Games Workshop.
Halflings.
I'm fired. Can't answer any of your
Look what
questions.
you've done
You
now,
know.
Remington.
Well, okay, look, Joey, let's if me and Andy worked in your office and they needed us to be characters in Total War Warhammer, what would Andy be? What faction can you see him being used for?
The only faction he's allowed to be on his own brand law is dwarfs.
I was thinking goblins, but okay, dwarves.
What
No,
kind of dwarf
it's
would I
written
be?
in your law.
What sort of dwarf would Andy be? Well, sort of kind of cautious, reserved,
Say fight, you know, definitely a
an
weapon,
engineer.
ranged weaponry, you know,
Yeah,
Maybe,
or
yeah.
the crew,
yeah, like cannon crew, something like
loading
that.
the mortars.
Yeah, nice and safe distance from the enemy.
Yeah,
Definitely
good
not
distance.
Slayer, not
Don't
enough
get in melee.
clothing for my liking.
No, Slayers are a funny one because you so want them to be good because they're such a popular thing, ain't they? Right, with Gotrek and that, you really want them to be good, but there's just no way they can make them that good because at the end of the day, they're like bearded dwarves with like loincloths running around. I mean, how
One of
good
my
can they really
favourite
be?
words, one of my top 10 favourite words, that
Loincloth.
loin. I did a whole video, like, I think I lost my mind painting a war dancer. I just kept repeating that word over and over.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yes.
There you are. So, from the outset, Joey, you've really surprised us. There, you let us talk down your company because it didn't look like they were going to bring out the ogres, and now they're totally smashing it. So yeah, congratulations. It's brilliant. And look, thanks so much for coming on the show.
You are more
It's
than
wicked.
welcome. It's
I
nice
mean,
to be back as Joeyberry, isn't it? It's been a
yeah,
long time.
absolutely. And hopefully this will get rebroadcasted by all the channels that get 250,000 views per day. They didn't get anybody,
That's right.
right? They didn't get anyone from, Creative Assembly. We
Well,
did, so thank you.
Andy has been, you know, part of the Total War Warhammer crowd in terms of, like, you were there for one of the press events for Warhammer 1.
That's correct. And then unfortunately, I wasn't able to play it because it was giving me a headache. But I've solved that issue, so I can actually play it and make Total War Warhammer 3 videos that'll outdo Remington's videos.
That won't be hard. Joey, do you know when he came back from that trip, the first field trip, to check out the first Total War Warhammer? You know what? He didn't tell me nothing. I thought, he's going to tell his best buddies at least something off camera. No, he said nothing.
Oh,
That's the type of man he is.
Well, the problem is, I know the type of man you are. That's the issue there. I think if anything was leaked to Remington in a top secret capacity, I'm not going to say it would be all over the world within minutes, but maybe an hour maximum.
That's why I had to have a meeting about this. Kidding.
But it's with the best of intentions, isn't it? It's not to hurt anybody.
No, I mean, that's what we all are, really, as fans of the franchise and have been for a long time. So, as you said back when I started YouTube, there wasn't much female presence, if any, between Annie and I. Annie was also doing YouTube for a little while, and we got to meet up in person. But it was through, honestly, being the biggest noob and just going, I don't know anything about this. We help. That was the premise of the channel at the time, was to ask the internet what to do. And my first video is really rough around the edges. It is.
No, they were pretty good. They got really slick after a while, didn't they? They were like you were doing full on musical productions and everything at one point.
I mean, the pieces came in, but rudimentary video. Looking back now versus what we have in YouTube culture, what it was then, figured a lot of stuff out on the fly. But I honed my awkward comedy. That's where Andy and I really resonated on just the plenty of videos as frankly a better version of me, really more credible.
So Joe, do you think you'd ever venture back into YouTube's ville?
I mean, as single parent with 2 children and a full-time job, it's a lot. It was a lot, and that's really why I kind of dipped off in the first instance. Was trying to acclimate to going corporate in a sense, to a full-time job, which YouTube's a lot more flexible.
Yeah.
Whereas now, maybe stuff like this is a lot easier. But the time for editing and
Sure.
Who's got time for editing, really?
Live
videos, that's where it's at.
Live. Everyone wants it now. They want it now. And the thing is, by tomorrow it's old news, isn't it? So you might as well just do live stuff.
It's very fast paced, the internet in general. And that was the difference between YouTube back then, is it was a bit more of an event when you'd upload something, and people were less like
Yeah.
So maybe
Nice.
I do live streams talking about all the TV shows and the problems I have with them. Game of Thrones, looking at.
Now, people have been staring at the Total War Warhammer 3 website for a little while, so I thought, look at this image that Remington sent to me for some reason before the show. So I thought, if he's going to go to the effort to Photoshop this, then why not? Do you want to explain what on earth is going on here?
I need to actually get back onto YouTube and have a look, because
it's a poster starring Remington Steele, Clean Justice 4, Water Wars.
So this was a concept that I had. It would be a kind of like, in the 80s you had the Karate Kid and all that, and this would be a movie called Clean Justice, and it would be like this, this multi-ethnical and ethical character, right? I don't know, in the Bronx or something, or maybe in Kent, maybe in the backwoods there, right? Could be in Oldham, right? And he's just sick and tired of living in a dirty area, and he gets his Karshner cleaner, right? So he's got this Karshner.
Medway.
He's Karshner washer, and that's his weapon. His weapon is Clean Justice, and he goes around doing good deeds, and maybe there's some youths, right? Spraying an old lady's fence with graffiti.
I thought you were going to say old lady's face there, but fence is probably better.
But who can you turn to? Because the police can't do nothing, but Clean Justice can, and he can spray off the graffiti with his Karshner cleaner and various nozzles. So for each job, he's got obviously different heads, and He travels around in a van and he does good deeds. That's clean justice, the modern superhero. That's my concept for a TV show. What do
It
you think,
sounds-
Joey?
Recycled water as well.
Pardon?
Is it recycled water as well?
I hadn't thought of that, but that would be good. That would
Then
good. Maybe,
it's eco and clean justice.
you could be in it.
Yeah.
Joeyberry, as you're the sort of person in the room, you know, what in the computer room, finding all the problems and sending out clean justice.
Yeah.
And then you got your headset on and you're going, "Watch out, Rem!"
I'm
You
a
know,
tech guy. Love it.
yeah.
So to
It's
me,
all coming together.
it sounds like a kind of PG version of the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't seen that. I saw posters for it back in the day.
It sounds very similar to Clean Justice, except in that I think he like snaps people in half and cuts their heads off, that kind of stuff. So you probably won't be doing any of that.
Well, the guys in my band, they make these posters as a joke. So this could be a potential movie, you know, future movie of the TV series. You know, once we get the funding, we can sort of go a bit more grand. Yeah, that was Clean Justice.
And on the subject of ogres in Total War being revealed, Remington, on topic for once, sent me some pictures of his ogres as well. So
There you
look at
go.
that.
Joey's impressed. That makes me happy.
I love a good
Wicked.
ogre. I did Christmas ogres once. Themed them
Did you?
again. Yeah. Oh, good.
Wow. I unfortunately I sold these, so this is a little trip down memory lane for me. Obviously regret it, but there you go.
Well, you regret
they're
selling your
good.
armies, but you keep selling them.
Well, you know, you gotta recycle, just like
But you keep saying that you regret doing it, but then you do it again and again. Do you actually have regret?
Not really, no, because I've got these photos. Got the photo. If you've got the photos, you've got the memories.
That's the most
You
important
know?
thing. Take a
Keep
lot.
them.
Take a lot of good pictures of the things that you cherish in life, is what I would say, and get them all up on the internet. Keep them safe from house fires or whatever.
Now, Joe, here's maybe you could answer this question, right? Do you know when it's within the team, it's been decided that yeah, we're going to do ogres. All right. How long ago might that have been? Would it have been years ago or months ago? That's interesting. That's interesting. Why would you not comment on that? Well,
Secret.
the reason why I ask is because a few months ago, right, I had a message on Instagram
Okay.
and it said, "Oh, I really like your ogres. Can we use them for our video game? Have you got any 360 shots?" And unfortunately, I didn't. I just had these single front-facing shots. I thought, "Oh man, maybe that was Creative Assembly, and they like my ogres so much they want to use them in the art."
I can
mean, the
confirm
paint
that
jobs.
wasn't us.
Without even having to go and check with anyone in charge of like art acquisition, you can
You could have strung
reveal
me along
that
for
it
a
was not Creative
second or
Assembly
two.
immediately. Just from looking at Remington's miniatures, you can tell they're not up to the Creative Assembly standard.
That's not the case. She gives no context.
Interesting. Now, I am going to do what I usually do with Remington's paint jobs here, which is
My
scrutinise
internet
it.
just cut out. I missed everything about that. That sucks.
Rem,
But
I
whatever.
just said
Sorry.
I just told you so many secrets,
All the
and
secrets are
you
out
just
the bag.
disconnected.
And this video will self-destruct afterwards now.
It
Can't
will,
ever be
yeah.
repeated. But look at this. Scrutiny greater than the human eye can usually provide of Remington's paintwork.
You
And
know what? There's a little dent in the arm there.
No!
There's a little dent in the arm. That is a gnarly jab. That like a TB jab. You remember that at secondary school? That really left a mark.
Yeah. That did. I didn't have to have mine because I
I didn't
went
either.
to Iran when I was a baby and didn't need it, so that was good. Still got the scar though.
Did you skip that?
Yeah.
Like, did you have to do that skin
I
test thing?
I don't remember that, but I remember everyone had this massive mark, and
Yeah.
some even turned pustule. You know, but I got off. We both got off with that. That was
Nerglified.
Andy, did you have one?
I remember
Did-
the thing where it's like 6 or 10 little tiny puncture wounds that they make,
Yep.
and then if they
If they
disappear.
fade, if they stay, then you don't have to have it, and if they
Yes.
fade, then you do.
If it stays, then it means your body is rejecting it, and if it's absorbed, it means that your body is just happy to accept illness. So you need
So-
the serious needle, and I didn't need the big jab.
I didn't need it either. That's quite rare, you know. 3 of us didn't have it.
Hmm.
We're still here.
Hmm.
Interesting.
And we all got into wargaming. Anyway,
It
back to
mean?
critiquing the paint job.
Yeah. We've got some more pictures, in fact.
This is good. Well, does Joey know that Sean from Blue Table Painting said my painting was good enough to get a job at Blue Table Painting?
Ah,
Isn't that
do it.
nice, right?
Do it.
Do it. Bacardi and cola. Do it.
Let's scrutinise. I'm always looking out for little tiny stray, like hairs or eyelashes that have become stuck to model at this high zoom level. I'm not seeing too much of that
That's good.
here.
No, any of the
Yeah.
texturing just looks quite natural. That was my original point with the jab dent mark there, is that it, you know, could easily pass as war damage.
You know, I think zooming in
Great
like
fun
this,
to paint.
think it is
The ogres,
actually.
I think they are the best first army to paint, I'd say.
I think it is actually important to zoom in sometimes on miniatures like this, because when you zoomed out, you see it, and someone who's not that experienced in painting might think that's unattainable. I don't even know where to begin. But when you zoom in really close on it, you can actually see where the brush strokes are a bit more, and people can actually imitate that technique then. It's like pulling back the curtain of technique. See where the colours have been applied, so that when it's at
Usually
normal
that
human eye level, you don't see the little white dots on the corner of something from this distance. So it's not just me being cruel, showing off all the tiny imperfections. Remington paint job.
That technique you're referring to, Andy, is usually me putting the paintbrush in my mouth.
As we all do.
Don't know how these pictures snuck
Yeah.
in there.
I can't see the pictures you're showing because my internet's playing up, and
They're
it
the
will
ones
ruin
in
the
the
show.
chat where Andy and I are dressed the same, but Andy's
Oh,
got
they're
a bit of hair.
amazing.
When people
They're
copy
so
my
good.
style,
They're
it's
so good.
always funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Colin says, a young Andy. Well, I've been assured by numerous sources that I don't age. So how would you know?
Actually, if you get into wargaming as well, you age slower,
Is
she
that a
says,
fact?
hopefully. No, that's wishful thinking.
It must be all that, like, hunched over a painting desk.
Yeah, we just don't get
No
much
sunlight,
light, you know?
no
Yeah,
exercise, all those
that's
things
it.
must slow down the aging process. That's what you need.
Exactly. Yeah. You stay inside enough painting Warhammer.
No
No
time to
problem.
prepare fresh meals, just eating snack food all the time.
I mean, I have no choice. That's the mom job, innit?
So, as a mum, Joey, do you think you can get your children into Warhammer or wargaming? Is it too early to
Both of
say?
my children have painted miniatures. My son is not a fat, like, he's a gamer. You know, he's played many computer games. In terms of dexterity, though, it's really difficult for him to do that as a left-handed kid as well. So
Yes.
he's not there yet, and my daughter's 6, and she has no attention span.
You know, my mum's left-handed, and back when she was growing up in the 50s,
Not
they
allowed.
used, they used to think that left-handed people were from the devil. So in her writing classes, she would be trying to write with the left hand, and the teacher would go around with a ruler, like smacking their hands and making them write with the right hand.
Yeah, that's messed up. Both my children are left-handed, and I am not.
Well, to be fair now, they haven't totally ruled out that Satan has anything to do with it, have they?
That is true, and that also makes sense. So
Well, are they right-footed or left-footed? They're
I don't
left-footed and
know.
left-handed? Be interesting.
I'll
Sometimes
check.
they
I'll
can be
check
the
with my
opposite.
son.
Yeah.
Not now. God.
Which foot do you use to kick a ball, Mr. Remington?
Well, I was the West End Sunday League Player of the Year. I have, and yeah, right-footed central midfielder, engine of the team, with the occasional flash of brilliance from the substitute bench.
Reviews.
I started
about
off
you, Andrew?
entirely right-footed, and then, because of repeatedly spraining my right ankle, decided I don't want to have to just sit around and actually recover from an injury. I'd rather just carry on playing football and kick the ball with the other foot. So it became more 50-50 at that point onwards.
Can't imagine Andy playing football. Can you? I
No.
mean, I'd
I
like
used to
to
be
because he's
obsessed with
very
playing football.
Andy's very tall in real life, Joey, as
Yes.
I'm sure you remember. So did they used to stick you up front, Andy, and hope the ball bounced off your head and in the goal? What
Well,
position did you
in the
play?
school team, I did play as a striker quite a lot, occasionally in
Yeah,
midfield,
of course.
never defence.
Never goalie?
Goalie, not in the school team, but occasionally they would have like school tournaments within the school. And one tournament that my team won, I did go in goal from game 2 onwards because our other alternative goalie was so awful that I took it upon myself as the best player on the team to take that
See,
responsibility.
you see, I can imagine Joey. Perhaps maybe it's like me. You know, if you scored a goal, you'd go absolutely mental, right? And you'd run around the field 10 times. I think Andy, if you scored, you probably would keep exactly the same face.
That is
And
correct.
A subtle. That's it. That's all he'd give.
Much like winning a game at a wargaming tournament as well.
Oh,
You
really?
won't see me flying around the room
No, but
cheering.
too much showboating, like after a tournament game is unnecessary. Buy
Definitely.
someone a beer,
yeah, I mean,
commiseration beer.
the thing I do is I know I'm going to lose the war, right? But what I do, I invent little victories within the game.
Yeah,
Like, if that snotling can survive, then really I've won the game.
yeah.
Even though on paper Andy might win. So I'll invent my own little side scenarios. So, that keeps me going.
Fortunately for me, I never had the desire or I'm just not very good, and I'm fine with that. Even Total War, not great. So when I asked you earlier if you were any good with your many,
Yeah.
many hours, doesn't matter. I've
Well,
played
no.
loads of them, and I'm a distinctly average Total War and tabletop player. That's fine.
Would
I have
do
fun.
you find that you auto resolve a lot of the battles?
It really depends on circumstance for me because sometimes, as a Total War, like if I'm really invested in the game and I am irked at another race for taking on my city or
Yeah, yeah,
wrecking something that I've tried to achieve to do,
yeah.
I will fight them
You will
because I
punish them.
want to. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I can get vengeful
yeah,
even though I know I'm not very good and the statistics are, the auto resolver is giving me a better indication of victory. Sometimes I'm
yeah,
like, no,
think for
disarm.
me, it
yeah,
comes down to what kind of makeup the army has. Because certain times, when it's auto resolved, I feel like with a certain type of army, I'm more likely to have a negative result than if I play it myself because the auto resolve doesn't take into account maybe any little strategies that I physically do myself in there. So I think it
Question for
depends a
both
lot
of
on
you.
that.
Andy, you first. Do you, when you play a total war game, do you pause and make your moves and decisions, or do you play in real time, or do you slow mo it?
Hmm.
I gotta admit,
Mostly
yeah.
real time, but
Okay.
occasionally, if
Wow.
I've got a lot of little heroes that need to do something, then maybe I'll pause it. I don't think I slow it down.
Okay.
I always slow it down.
I
When it
always
gets
slow it down.
wow, why wouldn't you do that? It's too fast in real life, man. You
It,
got so many things to do.
exactly. And I'm only curious as tabletop players initially, right, as to what your preference is, because for me, I was always like, I need a minute
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make a decision.
absolutely.
So I'm impressed, Andy.
I can
No,
understand
to me
slowing it down or pausing at the start of one of those missions where you think you're safe and then suddenly, for no reason, the Skaven have an ambush on you because that's just
Yeah.
how they are. And you've got to get all
Reinforcement.
your units out of that big marching column
yeah,
into a better defensive position
Yeah.
yeah.
against the clock.
I
That's always
love
fun.
those ambushes. I love those Skaven ambushes, they're so because they really are, there's no guarantee, and you don't know how big the force is that's coming to get you, you know? I've actually lost most of those really with some good armies, but yeah, it makes the game, a lot better, but, I mean, do you know with the competitions that go on, Joey, they're all in real time, aren't they?
As in the tournaments.
They can't slow down when they're playing. Yeah, yeah.
So the ones that, yeah, they're all normal speed, but I used to do
Oh my
live
god.
streaming on the Total War Twitch channel at certain points, like years ago.
Yeah,
And at times I used to pause, not pause play, slow motion it,
yeah.
and ooh, they didn't like it at all. You
But
know,
you've got to because you're casting that spell over there, and then, you gotta, move that cannon that way, and do you know what I mean? And
I'm
change the
not
formation there.
right. I'm not as instinctively strategic in that way. I've got to be like, right, what's this one? All right. I know what unit to go against it, but I definitely need that minute. So, I have massive respect for the players that can manage to do all of this fast thinking strategic moves in real time and win with the majority of their units left over. Impressive.
But you see, the other part to that slow-mo is I love the visuals. I love seeing all the expressions, the fighting moves, all the different angles, moving it around, and of course, you're missing out on all that, Andy, when you're just going in real time. Do you know what I mean? You might as well just play tiddlywinks. There's so much beauty going on, you're missing.
Well, I'm not usually too obsessed with kind of unit micromanagement. So once I've set out my overall strategy and all the battle lines are actually engaged, then I can zoom in and have a look in real time
Yeah,
before anything else needs doing.
I
That's how I
got you.
prefer to play.
That's
I
fair. I
got you.
respect that.
So, Andy, have you played all the races? Joey, have you played all the races? Is there any races you haven't played as much or not at all? I've not played the Skaven. It's the only race I've not played because I probably enjoy it, but I don't know why. I've just got a thing against moths and mice.
I've played the dwarves a billion times. Every time I load up the game, I think I could try a different race, or I could just be dwarves again with a different
Love the
a
dwarves.
different
Love them.
leader.
Seeing that Dave Chappelle sketch, where he's itching, like, oh, dwarves.
Yes, especially Belagar Ironhammer and his like deceased ancestor heroes.
Yeah,
Thought they were the
they're
coolest.
awesome. By the way, they're awesome. You know the ancestor ghost. I mean, where did that idea come from? Because they never made models for those, did they? Right?
There's law for that, no?
I don't know. Is there? Andy, would you know?
I
It's cool. It's
I
great.
I
Either
assume
way,
it's
I
in
think
the
it's
lore,
cool.
but they certainly weren't in the miniature range. 'Cause was
Stupid.
Belagar mentioned that much before? When were the dwarves renewed before the old world blew up? Because the Belagar model hadn't been around until that point.
That's right.
I don't know whether he was freshly introduced to the lore within the last decade, but I'm sure he did have something to do with his ancestors.
Love the dwarves. So what are the races you played, Andy? Is that it? Just the
I've played
dwarves.
Undead as well,
You
and
got caged in, didn't you, with the undead? You couldn't get out that middle bit.
yes, ended up just camping in my like home castle for
Yeah, it's tough,
just a
man.
vast number of years, just building up resources so I could eventually escape.
Yeah, that is a rookie mistake, isn't it? A lot of new Total War Warhammer players, they try and build too quickly, too fast, and spread too quickly, don't they? And they end up spreading resources too thin. I think it's wise, and you learn this when you play the Wood Elves campaign, especially to be
Yeah.
a very patient builder.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
It's slightly different for each race, though, isn't it? Because some of them get bonuses for expanding, and you want to be out there fighting all the time, don't you? To keep
yeah, well,
certain
Beastman.
resources topped up.
Yeah, I'm not so suited to those kind of campaigns. I struggle with the Beastmen, especially. Yeah. So,
I
what
have
about you,
played all of
Joey?
them. All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which ones do you favour, if you're allowed to say?
I'm allowed, as fan of game, yeah. That part of me is separate to being, employee. But like my favourite ones to play are Wood Elves, obviously. I love me some Durthu.
Yeah.
Love the sisters. Vampire Coast, loved it.
Nice. I enjoyed that as well. That was
Yeah,
fun. Which character did you play?
I have a bit of an affinity with Luther Harkin.
Wow. I played the pirate lady. I can't remember her name.
Renessa
Um,
or Silostra,
not the scary lady.
not the singer.
Oh, you know all their names, really?
Oh
You
yeah,
pronounce them all really well.
thank you.
Yeah, she's like a sort of a pirate lady, and she rides a crab in a
Yeah,
le in
Aranessa.
yeah, she was cool. I
Yeah,
liked her. Yeah,
yeah, she
that's
is
who I
cool.
played.
I think some of the characters, some of the caster characters, I find like the legendary lords are quite, I don't know, too easy to kill. Or my perception of them in my mind is that that's true because they're magey, they're less tanky. That's not really the case. It's all stats that I haven't absorbed and retained. But in my head, I always go for the ones that are a little bit more durable looking. So Luther,
Yeah. Got you.
you know, firepower as well with
Yeah.
guns and pistols. That, like, for me, I was always a little frustrated with the lack of ranged when I played Counts a
Oh, yeah,
lot.
of course.
So
There's
having
no
Vampire
range.
Coast with
Yeah.
ranged was a game changer. So that was really fun. Um,
That was that the
yeah.
biggest challenge to put together because it had probably the least amount of lore at that time?
Um, I think, yeah, back at the time I mentioned, I think I was doing videos back then, but you know that's done with Games Workshop. So
So
challenging
to
to a point.
do they have people working there all the time, or is it like a Q&A every now and again? Like, "What do you think of this?" And they'll go, "Yeah, that's cool." And
That I
then you'll
don't
go
know.
ahead.
That I don't know. Bearing in mind, I'm in marketing as opposed to developing, so
Got
different
you.
different processes. But in terms of playing it, like every time one would a DLC would come out or a main game, I'd have to give it a go. And
Yeah.
but those are definitely the ones that I prefer.
Yeah.
Tomb Kings as well, lot of fun. Really
Yeah,
enjoyed
yeah.
that.
That was awesome too.
Yeah. So what I loved about it, and still love, like, and I think always will, is that essence of capturing each race and its own objectives and narratives. Like, I was playing Shogun 2 Total
Loved
War
oh
back in
my
the
god,
day,
love
right?
Shogun, love
Love
Shogun.
Shogun 2.
Oh, man,
It's
amazing.
such a mood every time I
It's
play it.
I'd still play that. I'd still
Exactly.
play that. The
S-
music is amazing as well.
So that's what I mean. I've loved aspects and specific Total War games for a long time, even though I'm very, very average. Um, but it's Warhammer's got had my heart for a long time before that. So, every time something comes out, I'm always trying to give it a little bit of a go.
When I started with
So for you,
Medieval
this was
1,
like the perfect marriage, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. I'm very
Oh,
lucky,
wow.
the fact
Yeah, I
that
didn't go back that far, Andy, so that's
yeah.
awesome, mate. You
it's classic that one. I think that was that the last one before the graphics went like
Yeah,
full
I was gonna say, so
3D.
Joey, you got into Warhammer armies, and then uh,
I think Remington's glitching out a bit and getting a bit of a delay
I'll
here.
come out and come.
You back?
Classic Remington internet maneuver. He's disappeared and he's totally destroyed the screen layout now. Oh no.
Guys in chat,
Okay,
can you
he's back.
pretend Oh, damn it. Guys in chat, pretend that we dropped some massive secrets and Red missed out again.
In all caps.
Annie, mostly Annie.
Did I hear something about secrets?
He's
Nothing.
back.
Revealing secrets. Oh, man. Typical. I was gonna say, so you loved Total War, you
Yeah.
played Shogun, and you
Yeah.
loved Warhammer, the actual models, games, painting, the whole shebang, and you found a career doing both,
Yes, and
kind of.
fortunately, yeah, I was lucky
That's
enough
amazing.
to work and get an opportunity to do community. Oh, sorry, I kicked my desk. Ow. To do community manager stuff. So it was more making use of my like presenter weirdness at the time.
So they
Um,
saw all your videos when they were sort of thinking about your role.
I think so.
They must have.
Yeah. But I joined in 2013. So in terms of chronology from like YouTuber to present day, um thanks guys. Thanks chat guys. You've done me a solid. But now also go into the comments and assure Games Workshop I didn't say anything so I don't get fired. Yeah, so from uh 2013, that's when Rome 2 was released. So I got to work hands on with historical Total War first. And
Yeah.
that was really, really awesome, to
Like the traditional Total War. No, yeah, the Total War guys. It was all historical stuff, and then a fantasy version comes out taken from Warhammer. Was there a lot of backlash? Were there a lot of people, going, "You can't do this.
no,
This didn't really happen."
no, but from what I remember, everyone was like, "Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Cool."
Amazing,
I think the
And
most I've seen
cool.
is maybe the Facebook
amazing.
posts with trailers on the main Total War page. You'll have like one person in the comments saying, some more of this fantasy nonsense. Get back to historical. That'll be one out of like the 500 comments, but there's usually one in there.
Yeah.
That's
I
about the
think
worst of it, I think.
I think the game is so good that they bring in the lore so well, you know, with the voice acting and the little storylines and everything going on. It kind of makes it feel like it's part of history already, you know, in a kind of weird way, you know.
But that's
So
that's the
is
best thing
it?
about Warhammer. The Warhammer as a franchise, that's why I got into it to begin with, because I went into a
Yeah,
Games Workshop shop, going in to
yeah,
look at Lord of the Rings because I had no idea that they only sold miniatures, and then thinking, ah, that's too storyline prescriptive. Whereas
yeah,
Warhammer really gave me, or Fantasy Battles at the time, gave me loads of like opportunities to paint whatever I wanted. You know, like I didn't want to go in and paint Legolas in some weird color palette because that's
yeah.
not
Got
right.
you.
Whereas
Yeah.
Fantasy Battles was really like, well, this is the storyline, but in terms of aesthetic, yeah, there's a paint scheme you can stick to, or not. Do what you want. Love that.
So what do you feel about it now? Because the old world blew up. So what do you know? You've been
Not in
following
my
it.
heart, I didn't. Not in my heart. And I've I've been working, so I've
Yeah,
always had the opportunity to kind of delve into fantasy battles regardless. There's,
yeah.
loads of books all around the office, so it didn't die to me. I've been working on the game for a long time, so it's always been there.
It blew up, but that's just part of the
It's
like,
part of the history.
chronology of it. There was still
Yeah.
that period that you're exploring. Because you don't say, well, can you really enjoy Rome Total War anymore since the Roman Empire ended? Like,
Yeah,
not
you know the
really.
ending, don't you? Yeah, I got you. So where can
Like
it
the
go? Where can it?
Skitterlorks. Sorry, someone in the comment put like the Skitterlorks, where I did a video um, on just normal Savage Orcs, like model wise, and just did all different crazy colours: gold, silver, purple, pink, blue. They were fun. That's what I mean. That's the fun of, for me, that's always what got me right into the hobby.
They were like luminous, weren't they?
There were some
I
that were
remember.
vibrant.
Yeah, it's vibrant.
Now, we've been looking at this picture on the screen for a while.
Oh, it's
Remington's
gorgeous.
Gotrek, who is, of course, an iconic character, and all the Warhammer books that I own, all the novels, are Gotrek and Felix books. And he's obviously been featured various audio series, and then Total War. Remington,
Yeah,
your
hello.
miniature. Tell us about it and your affinity for the dwarf.
I love Gotrek and Felix. I read the first omnibus and then the second omnibus and then the third one. And yeah, I kind of didn't want it to stop really. How have they not made a movie franchise out of this already, right? Surely one day they will. It'd be so cool.
Really would see it.
You know? I mean, movies just the thing is movies just don't cut it anymore. They just can't you can't tell an epic story in an hour and a half, 2 hours. I
You want the
think it's
TV
got
Netflix series
series?
instead.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's gonna be
yeah.
big budget like The Witcher, but better, right? It's gonna be anyway, I love Gotrek, and I used to have the old miniature for it, but he had to go along with all my metal dwarves, and then, basically, Andy defeated me with my
Handily.
yeah, with my Daughters of Cain, and I thought, "I don't wanna get a big gribbly monster." Is there maybe a mercenary character that I could bring that could just, you know, batter Andy's Stormcast heroes that are unkillable? It turns out, yes, there is, and his name's Gotrek. So, I bought him, and, do you know what? I painted that model in one sitting on a
Really?
Sunday afternoon. Yeah,
Could you zoom in
there
again,
you go.
Andy?
Let's get some scrutiny going on
Enhance.
this guy.
I do have to do the pupil. I did notice I
Look,
didn't get
all
the
of mine are like
pupils.
that, so no judgment.
It could just be his eyes are glowing with rage for battle. Doesn't need
I didn't know
pupils.
whether to make the rune he's holding in his hand, like, glow a bit.
What would you
But
do?
yeah.
Like eyes and mouth glow?
Yeah, could do. But do you know how Andy's blown it up there? In real life, it's actually tiny, Joey. It's really tiny,
That's
that
what
thing
she
he's
said.
holding in his hand.
Sorry, it's past 9 o'clock now. We're allowed. I'm allowed, right?
It sure is past 9 o'clock.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, maybe coming out the mouths and eyes. Yeah, I could have some luminosity going on.
He's already
Sure,
got blue
that'd
tattoos,
be
so like
good.
if
What
you
do you
had a
think,
bit of a
Andy?
glowy blue,
I
That were the
vote.
hardest bits, Joey. The tattoos were phenomenally hard because on the box it's got these little tattoos and they're impossible to paint. I'm sure they must have done it with transfers.
I'm going to vote for glowing eyes and mouth on the rune he's holding in his hand.
yeah.
Okay, I'll give
So
it a go.
my
What, yellow
recommendation
glow,
would be
green glow,
painting
blue?
it white, the inside of the holes, and then putting like a wash over it, something like that.
I'd go blue, like very subtle blue, but it would go with his tattoos. Plus, orange and blue are kind of opposites on the color wheel, right? So vibrant.
Yeah, okay, blue. What did Andy say again? Yellow.
Did you say yellow?
I didn't name a colour. I just said white
Ah.
with a wash on it, that glow effect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
go for a
blue or
turquoise
green.
wash.
Andy, you're putting me off the model now because all I see are the mistakes. All I see is those tattoos not being
Well,
painted very well. But
in
they're
that
so
way,
tiny.
I'm making you better. I'm pushing you to make no mistakes so that when we zoom in, we'll see nothing but perfection.
Really good.
Oh well. Yeah,
My
I'm
freehand
pleased
is
with that.
shit.
You know, I'll be even more pleased. Oh, cheers, man.
My
Cool.
freehand, I did once freehand a smiley face in blood
Yeah.
on a banner, and that was about it. Not a lot of freehand from
I
now.
love Samantha Darby too in the chat. Just saying.
It is time for everyone's favourite part of the
we've
show.
got some good chat going on actually. If you notice,
Well, if you want to read out a few of those comments, Mr. Remington, and then we'll go into what the hell is that?
yeah, just some rhetoric about how Gotrek and Felix should be definitely a show. Samantha Darby says, "Love you, Joey." Something about He-Man. Remember He-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of. Oh, I'm seeing all this stuff about leaky Joeyberry, leaky.
Oh, that's when
So
you left, and
apparently
we
you've
thought
been
we could.
leaking
Yeah, we thought we could get
things you
one
shouldn't
over on
have.
you, but you joined. You ruined it.
You came back too soon and you ruined the practical joke. So, are you ready for what the hell is that?
Yep.
So, after the intro video for everyone's favourite segment, we're going to be extremely zoomed in on a Warhammer miniature. So I'm going to pull out very slowly. The first person to type in the name of it is the winner. So, strap in your eyeballs because here we go.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it Sigmar's beard or Neferata's hat? Oh, what the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? Is it a mangled squig or a sorcerer's rat? Only Andy and Remington! Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready? First one to type in the name of this miniature is the winner. Here we go. We are zooming. We're zooming out slowly. It's quite pixelated. I don't think it's going to take too long for anyone to get this one. What's it going to be, though?
Any thoughts, Joey? Initial thoughts?
I think everyone's figured it out by now. Oh, AOS Coach has got it.
It's old school.
It's old, yeah.
Once I saw the pecs and cloak, I was like, yeah, but no one had typed yet, so it's rude. Rude to spoil that.
So, successfully guessed there by AOS Coach. Well done. That is an old model. That was like the coolest thing back
I loved that
in the
book.
90s.
I read the Orion and Wood Elf story.
Yeah.
That was great.
I never got around to reading that. Was it quite... yeah, tell us Can you sum it up? Was it like, do they summon Orion? Does he come back from?
Ryan is kind of birthed from a war dancer, so is like some poor war dancer that gets almost abducted and then morphed in some horrific transformation process into Orion, and that was awesome. All of it was
Wow.
excellent, and then the kind of low key, light sprinkling of romance with Ariel,
Yeah.
gorgeous. So I really enjoyed it. There was quite a cool. I can't remember who the. I want to say it was Nurgle as an opposition, kind of encroaching. Maybe Beastman. It was Beastman.
It's been
Yeah.
both. It's been both at different
It's
times,
been
isn't
all
it?
of them every time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose so. That's the game. But the book was great. I think the Orion. So that model. That's where I was going with that. It's very human. Whereas from the depiction of his transformation in the book, it's really effed up.
Amazing. I played Orion with the Wood Elf campaign. Really enjoyed that. Um, because he's kind of like he is a little bit vulnerable in that game. He is killable quite easily. So it was quite a challenge to sort of keep him alive, but then he can hit like a tank as well. So
Exactly. That's why the forest spirits have always been my go-to, really. Durthu, my favourite.
Can't go wrong with a bit of
amazing.
action, especially with potpourri on the bases, as pioneered by Remington, to give it that authentic, fresh,
Genius,
foresty
mate.
feel.
Well, next time you come back, I'll have my Wood Elves ready for a showcase if
Do
you
it.
like.
I'll bring Morgan Treeman from the
Yeah,
office.
do that. So who's your back to the? We haven't talked enough about the ogres, I don't think, really. So who's which ogre characters are you pumped up about
In general,
in the game?
in Warhammer,
Being yeah,
I mean, Rhesus looks immense.
absolutely, he's brilliant, isn't he? Brilliant.
Yeah,
I never saw him being used in a battle ever. I saw his model,
I mean,
wanted it, never got it, but
exactly. Like this is the thing. Those characters that are aesthetically ridiculous, like, that's not the right word, but you know what I mean, that is just kind of like, that is a massive ogre
Larger
with
than
a
life.
huge mace, meat in a wheelbarrow. I'd love to see that charge.
isn't it? I mean, the thing was, he's obviously a tyrant. He's obviously a massive bully. But if all the ogres decided to, just gang up on him or just walk off,
Isn't
there's
that
not a lot
also
he
the
could
plot for
do.
V for Vendetta? You know? Like, if everyone just pulls
Yeah,
together and overthrows their tyrannical
yeah.
overlords, like, yeah, in theory that works, but the ogres, as far as I understand it, are too lazy for that. Like, they just wanna have bants and eat, you know?
You need everyone
Well,
on
he's
board,
got the
and you have
gift of
to.
bribery,
You
hasn't
need
he?
everyone to be willing to be the first one in as well. It's likely to
Exactly.
get
Yeah,
eaten.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
can't
ogres
wait
eat
to
each
aim a
other,
lot of
don't they?
cannons
I
at
think
him.
if they have to.
Going to be aiming like 3 cannons, a couple of rock throwers at him, organ guns on standby. If he survives all that.
I really wanna see a little, again, as general fan of this, Grom and, Greasus just have a chat. Grom the Paunch.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous, but amazing.
I want
I'd
to see
love to
them
see
have
that.
a race.
An eating contest.
I'm looking forward just to hearing Grease's Goldtooth's little the
But
voiceovers and all
yeah,
the chat. You've probably heard a bunch already, right? Is it some good
I
stuff to
actually
look forward
haven't.
to?
I actually have not heard anything at the moment, so that I can confirm. Have not heard any of the voiceover lines.
Hmm. We didn't get a no
So,
comment for that.
how do you get a job as a voiceover artist for these characters? How does that work? Do they just look at a bunch of actors and say, "Read this for us," and find a good voice, or do they have people in mind? I'm fascinated to know because the
The
voice
audio department,
characterization's awesome.
yeah, I think the audio department would have to use actors, right? So you were talking earlier about Gotrek.
Yeah. Oh,
Much
Brian
like in the
Blessed.
audiobook is Brian
Yeah.
Blessed,
Amazing.
so that transferred over. Um, Amazing. I've been fortunate enough to sit in and watch some of them where there might be some overlap. I'd love to do voiceover. Some of the work and the things they get to do, awesome. Think about a Total War game, and they've just got to do like exertion lines, like stuff like that. That is someone's job.
And
Wild and amazing. So I can't overstate the amount of fun that I have had as a human individual being able to work on a thing like this.
Now, Joey, have you heard of Remington's $1 million ideas yet?
Oh
I
no.
haven't, but go on.
Hold on, before you
Well,
do
it
it,
used to be a
I've
thing.
got a little audio cue
Okay.
here for Remington's Millions. Hold on, let me line this up. Here we go. Remington's Millions. There we go. You may commence with your $1 million idea.
Yeah. So, my latest $1 million idea, Joe. Let me give you the pitch.
Go
All
on.
right. So it's a YouTube channel, right, where you get clips from famous films, but you do voiceovers with different accents. So let's take the Stallone classic film Cliffhanger, and the baddie, obviously, the baddie's always an English guy, right? In American films. So John Lithgow played the baddie. But what if we took a scene from Cliffhanger with John Lithgow talking, but do it in a Brummie accent?
Yes. Yes,
That
yes,
as
I've
that
greenlit
as a
this now.
YouTube channel, or a Scouse accent, where you could get like clips or famous TV clips or anything like that, and just put these ridiculous sounding accents on it. Is it a hit or a miss? What do you think?
Oh, that's a hit. I'd watch that.
I think if someone puts the effort into that and makes it a YouTube channel, if it's not already been done, then it would be a hit.
But
As long
what
as
would
it's
we call the
perfectly
channel? What?
timed, you know?
Yes, yes. What could we call it? I just think it could go viral, that kind of thing, just to make people smile a bit. I don't know if he'd get shut down though, using famous clips. I don't know.
Well, they
Maybe worth
have
a
they
shot.
have the bad lip reading type videos, don't they? Where they
Right.
use film
Yeah.
clips and put different voices over it.
Yeah, but they'd have to do like the same emotion and the same intention as what the characters are meaning, but in an accent.
Could you, though, like, really increase the pitch? Like, let's say you did do a Scouse accent, it's really, really squeaky, so it's accent and, it's gotta be really jarring. I'm taking that as a
True.
yes. Let's
Yeah,
expand on
man.
this idea. Got my
So
Maybe you
notepad.
could think of some more movie moments we could take and do that too. I don't come to
that's one for
anything,
the
but yeah,
chat. Give
that's the
us
$1
give
million
us a film
idea
scene
for the
and an
week
accent you would like to see slapped on it. So,
in the
speaking of the
chat.
chat, we've got a comment here from Wayne who says, Joey, do you play AOS?
I haven't done, no, mostly because I was not prepared to rebase my miniatures. Absolutely not. I haven't got time for that.
Fair.
That and at the time when it came out as well, there was quite a heavy mustache rule and like not being at a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, when they did launch the game, there were a few odd rules in there, to say the least, which they've
Yes,
definitely moved away from.
which
And
is
they've
better. But at that point, I think I was like, you know, I just learnt Warhammer Fantasy Battles. That is a hench book.
Now, I'm sure as an avid viewer of this show, you're aware that there's occasionally a segment called Remington's Hot Tip, where he gives everyone some kind of life advice. So I
Of course.
thought we could have that segment, but each of us in turn could give a hot Total War Warhammer tip, tactical tip, city building tip, anything that could help people in their quest to become a better player. So, of course, before we start that, we've got a little audio. Up for it. Here we go.
Remington's hot tip. Ooh.
And since it is Remington's hot tip, Remington, would you like to go first?
So, a tip in improving your game in Warhammer, Total War Warhammer.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, don't play too long. because what I found is you get to a point where you've done everything you can do. All right, so don't overdo it. Is that good bit of
Are you
advice?
talking
You
about
think?
where you've finished off most of the main factions, but you've set it for like the really long game where you have to hunt every last beast man in the corner of the map, and by that point you're just moving stacks around, aren't you? You think you
Yeah,
should?
I
You think you
think
should set your sights a bit lower and have a set goal in mind, and then when you've conquered a certain percentage of the world, stop there before it turns into like a procession.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think it's clear when you've tipped the balance in the game to your favor, and you think, okay, you could spend days playing out, or maybe you should set yourself a new challenge rather than playing that out. Yeah, that's my advice.
And that's a tip. So I'll give my tip next. My tip would be always travel with balanced armies. Mainly because if you get ambushed by Skaven and you have nothing but close combat dwarves, then they'll throw things at you and then run away, and then throw things at you and run away, and you can chase them as fast as you like all the way across the map. You're never going to catch them. So you need to have a few ranged units, a few fast things to chase things down as well. Balance. Key. Don't get caught with just an entire stack of hammerers and nothing else.
But don't spam. Don't
Yes.
spam any
Don't
units. You
spam.
said.
Don't cheese list it.
If you're going into
Yeah.
like a siege or something, maybe you want to be taking a certain amount of different kinds of troops, but you can skew your army a bit because you're fighting it on your terms. You know exactly what you're coming up against. If you're just wandering the map, then make sure you got a bit of a balance there, because you never know what's going to jump out at you. That would be my hot tip. So what is Joey's hot tip?
Don't get wrecked by attrition. Know your attrition. Not everyone suffers with attrition. Corruption's also an issue. Attrition can mess you up. I've lost. One of my most painful losses was due to attrition. Sad times.
Have you
Sounded
found
quite
yourself deep
personal.
behind enemy lines, slowly dwindling, no way to reinforce?
My best, buffest army just dying every turn.
I mean, that happened in history, didn't it? I mean, that
Yeah.
happened with Napoleon trying to escape from Russia. You know,
Sad time.
interesting.
Well, maybe if
That-
Napoleon had
that
watched this
magic.
show, he wouldn't have fallen for that.
know.
Exactly. But come to think of it, Joey, I'm not saying you are, but if you guys were to do, say, halflings, right? I mean, is it really imaginable that you could have halflings fighting demons and fighting ogres? I mean,
Well,
they'd get absolutely caned, wouldn't they? I mean,
it,
is that the reason why they've not been introduced?
I love your phrasing of that. So, firstly, let me whip out my
Damn it!
call. And secondly, every army, like I said earlier on, Vampire Counts had no range. Vampire Coast introduced it, so everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. So there are some. I mean, my best tabletop tournament battle ever was my one. And Annie was there. My one win with my Wood Elf army against, in theory, its polar opposite. So Chaos Demons. I had a very flammable army and a lot of fire, and I only got away with it by dueling Morgan Treeman versus the Demon Prince, or what, smashed him. That's it, though. That in every other way possible, I should have lost that battle, but didn't, through sheer luck and dice rolls, which is great. But that's the fun of it. Even going up against your absolute counter army, I still win. It's got to be lucky.
Nice. Very nicely put. I mean, perhaps the halflings wouldn't be like a world dominating force. Maybe their mission is just to protect where they live.
Take their
Literally is.
dinner.
Yeah. So they're not really an expansionist race. They just kind of like want to be left alone, kind of
I'm
thing.
just responding to Annie. This was in Firestorm Games, I believe, and that battle I was very hungover.
How did you cope with all the mental maths of playing the game? Because that's something that kind of like I'm not so good with maths. I mean, Andy, you can as you can imagine, is probably like did really well in his GCSEs and A level maths and whatnot, and I just scraped through. I mean, how about
Same.
what's it like for you?
Absolutely shit. Really bad at it. Really bad. But that was partly why I chose to do Warhammer to begin with, because I used to be a World of Warcraft player quite excessively. Like I used to raid. I spent a couple of years doing that. And when I moved cross country, I needed
Mm,
actual human friends. So Warhammer felt like a real life applicable version of it, you know. Um, but
got ya.
then looking at an army book, going like, "Yeah, I'm really bad at maths." It took some time, it took some patience, but you get to know your army well enough that that kind of stuff you figure out what's a four up, or you know, I never had any ward saves or anything, or armor saves, zero armor saves ever. So there's some stuff that helped me because I didn't have to worry about all of the intricacies afterwards. You're just probably going to die.
Yeah, I mean, there's ever so many intricacies being introduced at the minute. There's like, you know, okay, you need a 4 to hit, a 4 to wound, but there's so many exceptions, and they keep adding these exceptions. Except, I get this save, or I get this extra save, and
You know what
that's
the
what's kind of
Remington
doing my
problem
head in at the
is?
minute.
The Remington
What?
problem is with your army choices, you overload yourself with special rules, and then instead of taking like two of the same unit, so you've got less stats to remember, you'll say, "Hey, I've brought this new unit today. It's 5 models in a unit, but each one of them has totally different rules." Why?
Yeah, because you see, Joe, I'm a hobbyist, right? I like having all the different beautiful models there. I don't want 50 of the same thing, right?
Yeah,
So
I
you
feel you.
want bit of that, bit of this, bit of that. There's my army. Let's see how we do. Each unit is special, does its own special thing, and yeah, I guess that kind of you like to spam your iron drakes, don't you?
I only had 10
If
Iron
you could.
Drakes. Come on now.
They've
Oh,
never actually been that good for you, to be fair, especially against ogres, because the iron guts can come in and just absolutely destroy them, no problem. That was enjoyable
On the
look,
memory
the,
for
topic of
me.
on the topic of dwarves, Mr. Remington, you'll be pleased to hear that some of my sky dwarves are actually elite.
Right.
Dun-
woo!
So
So
these are the Kharadron overlords.
yes, the army that I abandoned about 5 years ago because I didn't feel like painting them. I painted 31 infantry and then got really bored of them. Eventually sold them, and then recently again, and I've actually added models to the army, so I'm going to be posting pictures of them on social media after this show.
Nice.
We've
So
all been there.
so it won't just have to be Stormcast that face Remington's forces battle. That'd be a novelty.
Good. Look forward to that. Look forward to that a lot. Joey, which new armies have, possibly enticed you, if you were to be enticed and pulled back in, but this time to AOS? Which armies take you fancy?
It's still the Wood Elf one. Like I do have that model with uh Ariel, or is it Alariel on the Beetle?
Yeah. So I
Gorgeous.
mean, so the Sylvaneth, which are like,
Yes.
the trees, and yeah, she's the sort of the centerpiece of that army, yeah. But then the wood elves, they're now called the Wanderers, and they've been put in with dwarves and humans
Like
in
it.
what's known as the cities of Sigmar.
Yeah, we'll go for that.
Um, yeah, I think in the lore, like the trees sort of fell out with all the wood elves,
That's fair.
and some wood elves merged with the trees to become sort of tree folk.
Love that law. And yes, that makes sense. You know, those that were of the utmost respect to the forest spirits, merge away. The rest, get out the forest. As long as they're, they seem to be mingling with other races like that. Bit of
So
tolerance.
you're leaning towards the forest folk more
Always,
than the
always.
okay.
But I do respect the, inclusion and tolerance of that merged army.
You've got to be careful which wood you're going to be using to whittle your bow from.
I mean, that's always true.
Trees are always watching.
Yeah. Hasn't Dirthu
Yeah,
got a lot of
rude.
beef with dwarfs specifically?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Isn't
Yeah,
everyone?
dirty, filthy little creatures hoarding gold. You know,
On that note,
why wouldn't they?
I think it's about time to start wrapping this one up. But obviously, we're very excited, not just for ogres, but also for the unconfirmed Chaos Dwarf and Halfling invasions that are sure to be following. As I thought. So, thanks for joining us on
Thanks
this
for having me.
legendary 183rd episode of the Andy and Rem Show. And as I bring up the episode thumbnail here again, while Remington prepares some lyrics for a song,
No,
which
no.
but you've been challenged. I think Annie told you to sing a song for Joey
I
in a Brummie accent.
deliberately ignored that comment because our tradition is for our guests to sing a song.
That's
Joey.
not tradition at all. The
Yeah.
tradition is that you pick up the guitar that's literally a yard behind you, and then you start strumming away and sing us a song. So while you're conjuring up lyrics in your mind, I'm going to personally thank all my patrons who financially keep this channel afloat during these dark, turbulent times, allowing me to act as the beacon of light, guiding troubled wargamers away from the waters of pain and suffering towards the waters of hope and hobby fulfillment. So special thanks go out to Roshi, Raccoon, Kim, Kevin, John, Guy, David, Cedar, Simon, Nippleless, and Brad. So special thanks to all of you, and take it away, Remington.
I've got to tune up. Hold on.
It's tuning up, folks. This is some quality entertainment.
Excited.
Colin's given me a nice new tagline. Don't be a dummy, give Andy your money.
Love it.
Advice for life.
We do it a bit northern. Don't be a dummy, give Andy your money.
I'll snip that
A
bit of
shoulder
audio
jingle.
out and use that.
Perfect. That one's free.
Remington has muted himself temporarily while he's tuning up his instrument. You would think that a practiced musician like Remington would have all his instruments precisely tuned at all times, in case of sudden song demands. The travelling
Great.
minstrel that he is. Oh, I think he's ready.
Has he got to be in a Brummie accent?
That was the specification.
It would
from
be
Annie.
nice if you would meet that one simple request that was made of you.
Look, I just did a northern song for Andy just now, so.
I'll try my best. It might turn into a Cornish accent, though.
Perfect. The more it deviates, the better.
What's the vibe? Do you want it upbeat? Do you want it melancholy? Do you
Go
want
for a little
it...
bit jaunty, a little bit jaunty.
Okay, good. Good, that's nice, because I had something melancholic in mind, but that's good. So, okay.
All right.
Can you hear that? You hear that? Yeah.
Yep, keep going.
We all like Joeyberry, she's the one that makes us merry. We all like Joeyberry, she makes us very merry. Joey the berry. Now we like Joey, but what about Andy? Andy's the one who... What rhymes with Andy?
It's very handy.
But he's not as great as Joeyberry.
At the end. Well done. Audience.
Thanks, Rem.
Don't
Forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow all the various social media stuff in the description, including the Discord server, where you can be posting pictures of your painted miniatures, and we'll occasionally look at them. You can interact with Remington on there as well. You could subscribe to Remington's channel if you want a video once every 3 or 4 years. And
Joey, have you been on my channel? You ever seen any of my videos?
I have, but not recently. I mean, I
there's been a
I
flurry.
stalked you both after my cheeky Cathay live stream chat that I stumbled upon last time.
So, with that, folks,
Yeah.
all that remains to be said is good night out there, whatever you are.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about